Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I am Chef Marcus Giuliano, and I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is Truth in Menu, right, Jamie?
It sure is. So let's talk about Truth in Menu.
Absolutely, my favorite topics.
One of your favorite topics, and I think you're very, very, very passionate about Truth in Menu. When was the first time that you learned about Truth in Menu or heard about Truth in Menu where it clicked in your head, wait a second, I've got to be a truthful chef?
So, culinary school. In culinary school, I was taught that us chefs are responsible, and sometimes we can be brought up on charges, or there are specific laws in certain states that require us to label our food correctly on our menu. We all know this with champagne and sparkling wine. You're not allowed to call anything from California that's made in the champagne style to be called champagne, because champagne is specifically from Champagne, France. There's a lot of foods that are like that, and drinks and beverages are like that. Now, like cognac is from cognac. You can't make cognac anywhere else in the world. You'll make something that looks like it, that may taste like it, that's made with the same ingredients, but it's a trademark name of Cognac, France, and Champagne. Same thing when it comes to foods like Copper River salmon, Yukon River salmon. The term grass-fed beef carries a lot of weight. If it's wild salmon versus farm salmon. But Truth in Menu goes far beyond the origins of food. It goes with the preparation of food and the overall ingredients. A customer has every right to know if they're eating MSG. If you ask a restaurant if there's MSG in the food, you have a right to know. So as a young chef, I was taught that we had to be extremely truthful in what we're serving.
So how do you feel about Truth in Menu at your current restaurant, at Aroma Time?
Yes. I feel embarrassed if I don't know where something's from. If I order fish, first of all, I don't order stuff if I don't know where it's from. But a lot of times I'll have a vendor that will call me, and they know how I am, and they'll say, oh, we just got halibut. The halibut price this week is XYZ. I'm like, well, where's it from? They're like, I'll have to ask the buyer. No, you're supposed to know before you contact me, because there's a big difference in Atlantic halibut versus Pacific halibut. So I'm not going to serve Atlantic. It's on the avoid list on all the seafood advocacy groups, but Pacific Alaskan salmon is a much better, more sustainable option. So at my restaurant, I really honor Truth in Menu, and I go out of my way to make sure that I know where all of my ingredients come from, how they're made. You know, like for instance, our salt, they use no machinery in the mine because they don't want to disturb the vibrational frequency of the salt. So all these aspects are extremely important. I might take it a little bit overboard, but I really value explaining to my guests the story of how their food got to their table.
Excellent. So now tell me how you feel about Truth in Menu in other restaurants, and maybe you can give us some examples of some restaurants that we've been to, because we've been to many, many restaurants, because that's what we do. We go out and
we research and development.
So tell us a little bit about your experiences at other restaurants and how you feel about other chefs and what they're doing at their restaurants.
So because I'm a chef and I know more of the questions to ask than the average consumer, for example, I know that when Alaskan salmon season is out of season, so the first question I ask is, oh, you're serving frozen salmon, which nothing's wrong with frozen salmon. I just say, oh, the salmon's frozen. And if they say, no, it's fresh, then I'm saying, well, when was it fresh? Back in October? Because it's the middle of February and there's no salmon right now. So I know the questions to ask. If you're a salmon aficionado, you might know those questions. You might follow the salmon season and you might know. So by asking the right questions, I get more of the wrong answers. And it's really upsetting because so many restaurants, I'm going to be honest, a lot of chefs don't care. They just downright don't care. Some of them are actually thieves, and they will put anything on their menu. And some of them are just ignorant and have no clue what the term wild means. They think because it's wild, the term wild, they'll put wild salmon, oh, because it came from the ocean. But it was raised in nets and pens in the ocean like cattle's raised in feedlots. But to them, oh, but it's from the ocean, so it's wild. That's their mentality. I had one guy that told me, oh, I go to Hunts Point to pick up all my meat, and everything at Hunts Point is organic. I'm like, what is your definition of organic? Well, organic means fresh. But it doesn't mean organic is fresh. That's not the right term at all. And this guy was really stubborn and didn't really get it when I called him to explain to him that you can't label something because it's fresh, that it's organic. And his thought was, you know, maybe he was from the old country, the old world, and where everything was natural and when he grew up as a kid. But because he saw stuff that looked fresh sitting in boxes, he just assumed, well, that's organic. That's how you raise beef. That's how you raise veal. And
why do you think chefs do that, Marcus? Because
some chefs do it for financial reasons. They do it for financial reasons because they know that they can lie about ingredients and get more money. Okay? Not sure how many of them are out there. I don't want to accuse that because that's a harsh accusation to make. You know, I've had a couple chefs actually tell me that, which I've been shocked when they tell me that. But other chefs, I think they just like to mingle the words in because they see like the top food trends, or they see other restaurants, or they see things in magazine, oh, wild salmon, organic this, organic that, and they know the buzzwords, pasture raised. So there's a lot of buzzwords that are in our industry that will actually help describe food better than the descriptions they already have on their menu. So it's really kind of, it's marketing, it's creative marketing. A lot of times you see, you know, dramatizations on TV where they list the word dramatization, you know, and then they do this reenactment. And you can tell that the product is, you know, going through this dramatization. Well, that's the same what chefs do. They dramatize the menus. They, you know, we actually take classes on marketing in culinary school. And there's lots of continuing education, there's lots of seminars, stuff on marketing menus, and as us chefs can go to seminars and trade shows, they teach us how to market our menus. So we learn how to sort of dramatize, but how do you dramatize your menu and still stay truthful? See, that's the big key, is trying to walk that fine line of not abusing the terms and understanding the terms to really convey it to the customer and not lie about or misrepresent.
So, when did you first realize that Truth in Menu was a problem?
Well, we were living in Colorado Springs. We were out there, and a chef from a seafood restaurant was bragging that he would serve tilapia and call it snapper. Now keep in mind, that's like a $7 price difference per pound, and he's charging snapper price and putting it in tilapia. And he was actually bragging about this to other chefs and about his food costs and how he keeps it down. And I looked and I said, this guy is such a thief. He is such, and it was a corporate restaurant. It was specialty restaurants of Colorado Springs, and it was the Sunbird, which is located up on the hill there. And in a corporate place that has like 12, 15 restaurants, you're not on top of your chef like that. You're not on top of your, or is the whole chain corrupt? So I'm not sure if it was a breakdown with just that chef trying to make performances, because a lot of chefs are paid upon performance. You keep a food cost, we'll throw you an X amount extra. You keep a good labor cost, you keep your labor down, we'll throw you X amount extra. So that's one easy way to simply say, I can meet food costs because I can buy cheaper ingredients and then charge the higher price. Now when it comes to fish is really tricky, because fish, you have to, once you take a fish and you take the head off and you skin it and you fillet it and you put it side by side with other fish, and it's white flaky looking fish, you put tilapia next to snapper, the average consumer has no idea. A trained chef will know the difference. Going out and say, no, that's two different fishes. But the average consumer going out to eat does not know. Then you put some kind of tomato sauce on it or some kind of salsa, or you blacken it or you grill it, you'd have no clue that you were not eating snapper when it's really tilapia. You'd have no idea. That comes with a lot of fish like that. Turbo and sole. I mean, the list goes on and on. Wild salmon and farm salmon. You know, what kind of tuna are you eating? There's lots of different species of tuna. What kind of tuna are you eating? You just don't know this. And chefs, you know, if the chef's deceitful, he will totally take advantage of every single opportunity to mislabel something on their menu to gain for monetary contribution to the menu, to the restaurant, to his paycheck. So it's really, really a problem. How often does this happen? happens more than you think at restaurants. Just because you go to a fine restaurant or you pay extra money does not mean that you're guaranteed to get caught in this trap of eating mislabeled food. It happens all the time. When I go out, I ask the questions. I know the questions I ask, and I've caught a lot of people, whether it's a restaurant around the corner who lied about serving Yukon salmon when it was really farm salmon, to the big guys like Legal Seafoods, massive chain. I had a conversation with them, and they finally admitted that they weren't serving Alaskan salmon, that they were serving Washington State Columbia River salmon. Wolfgang Puck, they came to apologize at the table to me. There was a typo on the menu. Well, I saw the contract for the function. I saw the menu. There was no typo. They mislabeled their salmon. It was just a downright mislabel. But they came out, at least the Wolfgang Puck's partner came out to my table and apologized to me about it. Tom Colicchio, they didn't apologize. In fact, he got mad at me because I kept questioning him, and I kept questioning the restaurant, and I called several times, Craft Steak at Foxwoods. I called like 8 times, spoke to management, spoke to a kitchen manager, spoke to the butcher, spoke to, and they wanted nothing to know. They had on their menu grass-fed, they had a grass-fed beef section. And under there, they had farms that were definitely not grass-fed, and I knew that going into it, but I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I did my research. I called the farms, make sure the farms didn't have a grass-fed section, or grass-fed line or brand. And then I said, you know that Tom Colicchio at Craft Steak has your meat under his grass-fed section? And all the farms told me, that is wrong, our meat should not be there, that is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong. So when I called them to explain to them, they wanted nothing to do with my positive critical critiquing, my criticism. They could have said, oh wow, you're right, let's look into it. Instead, I was told, well, the salesman told us that. The salesman told us, and it is. And then the butcher said, I grew up on a farm and animals eat grass. I'm like, they do eat grass, but once you give them grain, you can't call them grass-fed anymore. And if that was the case, every piece of beef out there would be grass-fed because they've all grown on grass. That's what farms do. They calve them, they put them on grass pastures, and they go to auction, and they go into a feedlot to get fattened up. But if you're considering what the animal ate 4 months prior, then every animal would be grass-fed. And I explained this, that they wanted nothing to do until I made a video and put it online about Tom Colicchio needs to apologize for mislabeling his beef. That's when all of a sudden Tom Colicchio got mad at me and started sending me emails and direct messages on Twitter. I can't believe you. No, Tom, I can't believe you. You're the person who I pointed out and called, tried to take care of this nicely, and it's wrong for you to lie on your menu, especially when I pointed it out to you and your whole staff there. It's wrong for you to lie, and that's what pisses me off in this industry. It's just that you have these big name chefs, these celebrity chefs that do it, nobody questions them. No, they're wrong. Wolfgang Puck, Steven Starr, Philadelphia, totally lied about the salmon, and the chef was so stubborn about it. When it's out of season, it's out of season. You can't have it if it's out of season. It's impossible, guys. And you can't have stuff like organic wild salmon. It just doesn't exist, or it doesn't exist. So, are there any laws? There are laws. Are
there any laws?
There are laws. State to state has laws. I mean, Florida has a $5,000 fine if you mislabel, you're mislabeling seafood. And mislabeled seafood is the most common offense out there. It happens all the time. Just look at the news. Coast to coast, these news undercover people go in, buy fish, send it to labs, cut it back, and like 80-90% of it's wrong. All the time, just wrong. It's mislabeled. If you want good, high-quality fish, you have to buy the fish in its whole form. Head on and look at the fish and understand what the fish looks like before you take it apart and see fillet by fillet, side by side. It doesn't work. You have to go to a restaurant and get the story of it. We have Yukon River salmon. It's in season for 6 weeks. It was FedExed in. We have line caught mahi-mahi from Tobago, whatever. This is the season for this. You have to get the whole story from it. So yes, there are laws and they are punishable. They're just not enforced that much. That's why I'm out there doing this for you guys.
So how often does it really happen? How often do you really see it happening?
Well, between the stores and restaurants, it happens all the time, especially in restaurants. If I know the right questions to ask, so I can easily answer those questions, ask those questions, and the more questions I ask, the more wrong answers I get, whether it's on fish, beef, what's in their food, is the food really organic, Are there any preservatives in it? There's MSG in it. Is there, you know, the more that they do this, the more that I get the wrong answers, and that's when, you know, that's when I start asking more questions, and it happens all the time. You know, if I went to any restaurant, I can probably find something on their menu that is not quite jiving and it's very, very questionable without accusing them.
So what is your website for your truth in menu information?
So I have a great website because I'm so passionate about this truth in menu. I bought the domain name truthinmenu.com, and I have put on a bunch of stuff on there of places that I've gone that things just don't jive quite right. And I get some email from time to time from other places that say, I'm working at this place that's lying about this, it's lying about that. And it's just, it's so sad to see these situations, how money hungry a lot of these people are. It's just sad to see. Because I get emails from some employees from places that just downright, the accusations that they make of these places, they know what they're doing, you know, they just slap on different labels. It's downright pathetic. There needs to be much more transparency in restaurants and in the food that we're eating at restaurants, and especially the food that we're buying in markets. It just needs to happen much more. So you have a right to know what's in your food, where your food is from, how it's caught, when it's in season, and do not be afraid to ask as many questions as you want. Call ahead of time, ask when you're there. If a restaurant cannot answer your questions, do not give them your money. They don't deserve your money. I'm Marcus Giuliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Thanks for watching.